Cool. Yeah, my name is Chris Platts, and I'm going to talk to you about my project, Buddy Check. So, to get to the problem that I came across, you need to understand where I came from. I joined the IRF late, at the age of 24, loving life in the gym, as everybody does. In 2014, I suffered my first injury, which was chronic hip problem. In 2018, further exacerbated this by suffering a back injury, playing golf of all things, for which I had spinal fusion surgery 4 weeks ago today. On top of this, me and my wife, we suffered 2 miscarriages along the way. We have 2 amazing sons now, which we're truly grateful for, but this pushed our mental health to the brink, to the point where we needed to reach out and to find help. So this is where we came to the problem that I came across. When we were looking at welfare services, we were pushed left, right, and centre to all these different organisations. They're all amazing at what they do, but if you're looking at this information, it can be quite a daunting situation to be in. And for some people, they might not want to reach out because of what's happening here. So these are the guys that I actually went and spoke to with my health issue, my mental health issues. Most of these guys actually gone through similar issues I have, and they offered some absolutely amazing advice. I also started writing my own personal blog on the internet. This enabled me to get my feelings and my thoughts out onto paper, which I wouldn't necessarily get out to my family, to my friends, to anybody. And the feedback that I got from this actually helped me pull through and get through to the other side. So I thought I'd do a bit of research. So in the UK Armed Forces Mental Health Annual Summary, this was produced in June 2020 last year, you can see there's a steady increase of personnel through all 3 services that are suffering from mental health issues. And these are the guys that are reporting it. So this is not capturing everybody. So I thought I'd do a bit further digging. I went into and created my own questionnaire and pushed it out for people to fill in. This was completed by all different ranks, ages, everybody, for which I'm grateful for the guys that filled it in for me. And this is the information that I got back. So I did find out that personnel would rather speak to their own people within their own services, within their own ranks, with other services, and they'd talk to the family members and also to friends. What they wouldn't want to do, or only 15% of people said they would do, is go out to these outside agencies, your Samaritans, your Healthy Heroes, your Minds, to go out and get that support. What I further went on to ask was, what sort of service would you want? What do you need? And what they came back to say is, they wanted live online chats, they wanted callback and text services, forums, live webinars, going to talk to people who have been there, that experience what they have experienced. So this is what I've already done. So I've created a website called buddycheck.org.uk. We have social media platforms on Twitter and Facebook for people to get in touch and fill in the questionnaire so far. What I'm looking to do next is then going to phase 1 of the project. So this is to create a peer-to-peer platform to get people talking to each other who need it the most. So we're going to be creating forums, live web chats, blogs. Eventually, when membership gets up, start doing our own live webinars, live events like this, getting people talking about our issues. Then we're going to push on to phase 2. So phase 2 is going to be our professional services. So we're going to start providing training services, mental health awareness, mental health for line managers, and other training programs, as well as once we've got this database of personnel that are trained, is to push out a text service. So people, when they're at their most needed, they can text somebody who is there to help them at their hour of need. We're also going to create an agency directory. With this directory, it's actually going to list out what these services provide. So therefore, we're going to create, Buddy Check's going to be in the center, and then we're going to be able to work both ways with these agencies to push out and get the right help to the people who need it the most. So what is I'm really asking for? What I need to have in the beginning is £25,000 startup grant. This will get the charity up and running and get the infrastructure in place so we can push forward with that different phases. As you can see there, there's initial staff cost of 0, because the RAF is paying my wage, thankfully. So this is how it would look with that breakdown. So as highlighted here in yellow is what's going to happen next. Once we start getting the funding in, we'll apply for a charitable status and to get our financial and legal structures in place. From then, we're going to push forward with our IT infrastructure and get the platform up and running and out there for the membership to be able to use that as soon as they possibly can. From there, we're going to develop it further and create more partnerships, more affiliations, get more grant money in so we can push on to the phase 2 and get our professional services up and running. And that is everything from me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the subject very close to my heart as it is to yours. And firstly, thank you for sharing your story with us as well, because it's important that you say those things, and it's important we all know about them as well. So, so going back to my station commander time, it hugely frustrated me that there was a gap in the market, to use commercial terms, where when it came to mental health and well-being, and there's a lot of people suffering, as you well know this, you served on my station, this. There's a lot of people suffering, and we have a very traditional way of dealing with it in the military, okay? We have a padre system, a pastoral, semi-religious system. We have a medical system that people are sometimes wary of because they fear that they're not going to be able to go on operations or be grounded or be one of these things. They have the line managers who are of different character, different temperament, different cultures, different backgrounds, so on and so forth. And then we have an organization like SAFA who are doing the best. But there's a huge gap. And that huge gap for me was an organization that could signpost people correctly to the right area to get help. Doesn't exist. I've looked, trust me, I've looked very hard. So this is the first pitch I've heard that actually answers a question I have been asking as a leader for quite some time. So, I've got no question for you. I think it's a brilliant concept. The only thing I would say is you're not free. So when you say cost zero, we still employ you to do something. So don't be frightened of putting costs in there. If you need people, come at it with a very open mind. Don't say I'm free, because you're not free. Okay. Yeah. But excellent. Hugely supportive.
Thank you.
I think just again another point for me. I echo all of that, but I come from it from the management point of view, which is something you have put in there, because that is something a JO sat here and I get people come to me looking at me as if I'm the font of all knowledge. I haven't got a clue. I need help. I need support. Where do I turn? Where do I get that information and make sure that I put somebody in the right area? That's what that opens up, So for me, that's really exciting. It encompasses all of it together.
Thank you.
I think this is brilliant. And people talk about mental health as a bit of a spiral. There's lots of people who have kind of low level mental health difficulties that they can easily climb out of. But if you let it carry on and it goes down, it becomes harder and harder to climb out. And so I love the peer-to-peer aspect of that you've got here as the kind of phase 1, people supporting each other. I think that the referral on bit is also really important, because as well as handling your own mental health challenges, if you're peer supporting others, then that can also then become an additional draw on your own resilience. And so I think having that refer out so that when people are going further down, that they've got somewhere else to go is really important. But really, really fantastic work.
Thank you.
Great work. A hugely important topic that I think is finally getting a little bit more of the attention that it deserves, not just inside the services, but also outside, and indeed also in the private sector. A couple of thoughts. First of all, if this is an exercise to establish a charitable organization that is seeded or related to the services, I can think of a number of philanthropic donors who, without wanting to be visually associated with this, would, I'm sure, want to, cost share. So that's something one could sort of pick up on. The second thing to say is there's a whole world of app-based support now. We have just introduced a system inside public using a service that Mark introduced us to called Spill. But there's also I think is it Unmind? No, Headspace, sorry, Headspace, and a whole range of others. So I would just think as you proceed with some of this, how do you not only refer to some of the sort of old school bricks and mortar organizations, but also allow people access to the plethora of online services?
Yeah, so this will come through our affiliation work and working together in partnerships. So we build a system and a platform where we work together. So we refer out to them, and then they can refer back into us. If they're struggling with somebody who's preferring to speak to somebody that's within the services, or veterans, because we're going to be looking at veterans as well, is being able to have that two-way flow in between the apps, between the charities and things like that. Building them partnerships is probably going to be the biggest key as we go along and build a bigger service and a better service.
And on that, I just wanted to say that the director of the Oxford Institute for the Changing Character of War has, in fact, built already a kind of charity that I think is specifically focused on helping ex-special forces personnel sort of manage some of the challenges that they may find. And I'm happy to connect you because there may be some useful lessons to be learned between that.
That's great. Thank you.
Great, Rich. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.